Thank you, Nick. It's 6:32. Good evening, everyone. We'll call to order um, this November 16th, 2020 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. We see due to COVID-19 or the coronavirus crisis and in accordance with the Governor Sununu's Emergency Order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, the Commission is authorized to meet electronically. As it was stated on the agenda, this meeting is being aired live on Merrimack TV, Channel 20. Telephone access is available for members of the public wishing to provide comment. Also identified in the agenda was the opportunity to provide comment by submitting to the community development email. It was comdev@merrimacknewhampshire.gov. Commissioners are participating via Zoom in accordance with RSA 91-A-2 Roman numeral 3. Each member, I'll go first, but each member will be asked to state for the record where they are, why their attendance in person is not reasonable or practical, who, if anyone else, is with them, and whether they are able to hear the audio. So I'll go first. I am participating via Zoom due to health precautions. I am alone in a room at my home. There's no one else in this room with me, and I am able to hear the audio. Gina, would you like to go next?
Sure, I'm Gina Rosati. I am participating electronically from home. Attendance in person is not reasonably practical due to COVID-19. I am alone in the room I am in, and I can hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much, Gina. Mike Boisvert, you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Mike Boisvert. I'm participating from home, and I'm alone in this room right now. I'm participating due to the COVID-19 virus health reasons.
Thank you, Mike. Cindy?
Cindy Glenn, participating electronically due to COVID-19 pandemic. I am alone in the room and I can hear the proceedings.
Thank you, Cindy. Gage, if you would.
This is Gage Perry. I'm sitting alone in my room, and there's other folks in the house, but I can hear the proceedings fine, and I'm doing this remotely due to COVID-19 restrictions.
Thank you. Tim?
Yeah, this is Tim Tenhave. I am alone in the room. There are others in the house. I am participating virtually due to COVID-19 considerations, and I can hear everyone just fine.
Thank you, Tim. And Mike Druin?
I'm Mike Druin. I'm alone in the house. I'm participating remotely because of the pandemic.
Thank you very much. You can hear the audio.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Outstanding. All right, we've got the hard stuff out of the way. Let me look and see if there are any participants. Tim, would you please serve as a voting member? And Mike Druin, you also?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Let me just see if there are any hands up in the waiting room. There are not. Okay, excellent. So that means there is no public comment. We also don't have any public hearings. Hold on, I'm sorry, I just shrunk my screen. We have no public hearings, no appointments. So that takes us to statutory business. The first item of statutory business, Executive Building Systems Incorporated is the applicant, and Anme Merrimack Realty LLC owner. It's a review for recommendation to the planning board of a site plan to convert an existing building to office warehouse use. The parcel is located at 25 Craftsman Lane in the R1 Residential by Soil Aquifer Conservation District and Wetland Protection Area. Tax map 2A, lot 005. So we have someone on to speak to that project. Would you go ahead and introduce yourselves and give us an overview of your proposal?
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Burns. I'm a senior project manager with TF Moran. I'm here along with David Campbell, the legal counsel for Executive Building Systems, who is available for comment if needed. And so roughly to give the board a rough idea of the proposal. So the site is located at 25 Craftsman Lane. It's tax map 2A lot 5. So this is a site that for many decades was a commercial use in the residential district. So in September of this year, the applicant Executive Building Systems went before the zoning board to get a commercial use formalized to approve an office and warehouse use in the building. And subsequent to that, we went to the planning board on October 20th and received site plan approval for the change of use site plan to convert this building over to the aforementioned office and warehouse use. It's a relatively straightforward project. What they're doing is converting the existing building and taking the existing site that is there. They're putting in 5 additional parking spaces in front of the building along Craftsman Lane. And they're paving over a gravel loading area that goes along the backside of the building to the existing loading dock. Other than that, there's no site changes really proposed to it as part of the use. We do have 2 shallow detention basins, one off the back of the 5 parking spaces and one at the loading area, just to mitigate any potential for stormwater increases. And we submitted a stormwater report at the time that was reviewed by the town to illustrate there were no increases or impacts to offsite runoff. There are no wetlands on the site, no wetlands impacts in this area. And again, that's the limit of what the change of use is. Again, it was something that went through the planning board process and review and was approved last month, and we were asked to come before the Conservation Commission as well.
Okay, thank you. So it has been before the planning board. They're just waiting to hear from us.
Yes, so it received its approval last month. So they went through the process and then they notified us about a week and a half after the approval that they wanted us to. They said that they asked that we just submit a narrative and come before the Conservation Commission as well.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. As I was going through, I did notice in a couple of places that you do mention hay. You mentioned hay instead of straw. And the Conservation Commission prefers straw as there's no seed heads in it.
Okay.
Couple of other things, just make sure that all of your plantings are native species. I went through them and it did look like they were all native.
Yes.
The other thing is fertilizer, that you want to make sure that you're using low phosphate, slow release nitrogen fertilizer.
Okay.
And the last thing is that we recommend the Green Snow Pro certified professionals for snow treatment, removal, and icing.
Yes. Yep. And I believe we have that note on our plans. I can go back and double check, but
I didn't see it, but
I believe it was a condition of approval from the planning board. It was one of the notes they had us add. So it may be a package that was forwarded to you, but we do have that added to our plans.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Tim.
Sorry, it took me a moment to remember how to drive Zoom because I've been using a different virtual system for quite a while. So infiltration basins, are we talking pretty standard kind of a hole in the ground kind of deal?
Yeah, they're pretty narrow. They're shallow, narrow trenches. They're about 1.5 feet deep. Just really off the back of the pavement just to capture the runoff and detain it. And we just, we included an infiltration component just because of the material out there when we had done test pits. It's a rapid permeability to the sand material that was out there. So we just included infiltration in it because it's just by nature of the material, there's going to be some infiltration component to it, but relatively small, like 0.1 CFS in a 50-year storm Not a whole lot going into these.
So since there's minor changes to the building, can you tell us what is done right now with the stormwater that hits the roof of the buildings?
Right now, everything that's coming off of the building and the pavement is just sheet flowing off of the property. It generally flows to the south and the west of the property now. So the building, all they're doing with the building is they're doing interior fit up. They're not changing anything on the exterior of the building.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, so.
Yeah.
Just didn't have a lot to review.
Okay, well, we will forward a note along to the planning board, just with our concern about hay versus straw and low phosphorus fertilizers.
Yeah, and we can update our details and our plan notes to account for those.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the next, and I guess we'll keep you on the Zoom. Because the next.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next one is Corey Knight, applicant, and Samco Realty Trust owner. Review for recommendation to the planning board for a site plan to construct an automobile dealership and repair facility. The parcel is located at 106 Herrick Street in the C2 General Commercial and Aquifer Conservation District, tax map 3D-2. Lot number 02. And if you would go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Jeff Cavan with TF Mayor's Office, the civil engineer surveyor on the project. I believe the applicant, Corey Knight, is on as well. Do you want me to share my screen as part of the plan?
Yeah, if that would be helpful. Yeah, feel free.
Okay. Let's see here. All right. So what's being proposed, this is Danny Webster Highway, Herrick Street in this location. Currently, this is a vacant site with tree coverage on it. It's being proposed to construct a 9,459 square foot automobile dealership or for sales and maintenance shop in the back here. So again, you basically come in off the site. The drainage for the current site, basically there's a low point that funnels through the property in the middle and comes from the opposite direction and crosses in a 18-inch pipe right here and then heads down. So very good soils as far as permeability. So what is being proposed, we're looking to capture the runoff in a series of catch basins. You can see these heavier circle lines and put them into a storm tech system, which is a underground chamber system. There's a isolator row that captures the initial sediments and whatnot and can be cleaned out. And so basically those chambers will be here and here, kind of an L-shaped line, and then we'll discharge across back to that same discharge point. We would put a structure on the end of that pipe, again, so that we could detain and control the runoff so that there's no increase in runoff from the property under that pipe. So we would get treatment and infiltration, with the chamber system that we have. I think that's a good overview, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. We went to the planning board on November 10th. They opened the hearing, received initial comment, and then continued us to December 15th.
Okay.
So the site is in the commercial district and in the Aquifer Conservation District. No wetlands on the site at all.
Hey, I'm gonna come back with the same comments that I gave previously. You want to go with, I did see some references to hay. You want to change those to straw?
Yeah,
Also, just make sure your plants are non-invasive.
okay,
You want to make sure that you're using low phosphate, slow release nitrogen fertilizer. And also just make sure that you're, it's recommended that you test prior to applying fertilizer. It's not, you don't have to, but it is recommended. You'll save money. And last thing, we do recommend the Green Snow Pro professionals for snow and ice removal.
okay.
We'll put it together in a letter and send it to the planning board.
All right.
Snow Pro comments on there, Gina.
Oh, it's already on there? Okay.
Yep.
Who else would like to ask questions?
Yeah, I would. This is Tim. So we've seen a few different projects come for this site, and the last project that came with us, the people who were proposing work at this site also had or were planning to purchase the site across the street where all the water was running off to. So therefore they were only moving water from their own site to their own site. I'm believing from what I understood that you're not changing the volume of water or going from your site across the street or under the street to the other site. Is that true?
Correct. We maintaining, rate. So we have to, we analyze all the storms. So 2-year, 10-year, 25, 50-year storm events. And we maintain that there's no increase in runoff going, through that culvert.
So with your chambered system and the ability for it to collect, stuff at the beginning that might be coming in off the parking lot, does it also have the ability to trap any automobile fluids as well and be cleaned out?
I thought exactly of that in this particular case where we would add like oil separator hoods or a T within the catch basin structures. That's where it would have to be captured before it got into the underground system.
Yeah, because we'd like to try and capture that and prevent that from making it anywhere off-site. So.
Yeah, and again, maintenance is inside. It's not that this is going to be, a garage with a bunch of older vehicles that are dripping a lot, but I do think, it's worth us having the small precaution to capture it in the catch basins. But it won't be, a regular maintenance shop that has a lot of really old or damaged vehicles that would be leaking or whatnot. So we expect it to be fairly clean on the outside.
What's going to be stored inside the building as far as fluids and chemicals?
Corey, are you on?
Oh, yes, this is Corey speaking. So fluids and chemicals, we keep a small amount of motor oil, some brake fluid, BMW specific coolant. As far as solvents, we use BMW specific brake clean. Pretty traditional stuff that you would find in an automotive shop. We have in our current facility, which the new facility will probably also have, we have a waste oil furnace, which recycles the old motor oil and uses it as heat for the shop. Other than that, we don't have any heavily corrosive solvents or anything like that on premises.
All that would be contained inside the building and what have you.
Do you have any floor plans? I can't get my PDF to work on my computer right here. So, do you have some floor plans? Are there any?
I don't have floor plans, but the way it's set up is this is the front sales and the indoor display area, and then basically there are I think it's 11 bays that would be on either side of this. So there'd be bays lined up on both sides of that.
what's the containment set up inside for any kind of fluid spills?
Corey, do you have any details on that?
I mean, for fluid spills, anytime we're using things like we're catching oil or coolant or anything like that, we have containers that they are drained into. Like these are large pans that kind of collect anything while we're working on it. And then we currently use Clean Harbors for the recycled coolant. And again, anything that's oil-based goes into our oil burning unit. And if there's anything that actually contacts the floor, it's cleaned up with either like an absorbent mat, or if it's small enough, just wiped up with a rag.
Well, in particular, wherever you're storing oils and any chemicals, I mean, is there any kind of containment barrier around there if something's leaking? A barrel or a tub or something?
Not in our current facility. We've never had an issue with a leak with any of our chemicals, actually. Knock on wood. All of the chemicals that we have, like they're in steel containers, but I don't know that those are like a fluid sealed container. They're like a chemical cabinet.
We have been told by the planning building department that we can't, there won't be any floor drains within the building. So as far as if there is a spill, it's not going to discharge into a floor drain and go out into either the drainage or waste line. So it is a concrete slab floor that any material spilled would be captured inside and collected or cleaned up.
Okay.
This site, is there any storm drainage that comes under Daniel Webster Highway onto this site like there are on other sites along this roadway?
Well, there's runoff that, sheets off, but there is no drain pipe that comes onto the property from DW Highway or under DW Highway.
Okay, anyone else? Any further questions? Okay, I've jotted down some notes here. We'll go ahead and
Sorry, I have one, Steve.
yes, please.
Since this is still forested land, right? Is this, and this may be for the other commissioners too, I'm not sure. I know in the past we've seen National Heritage Bureau has looked at properties before there's been.
Yep. So we filed with Natural Heritage Bureau, and the other one is the Historic Department in Concord. And recently the DES has changed enforcement, and we actually had to have a biologist, a wildlife biologist, go out and do a report on the site. So they did do a report on the site. There were no species identified specifically on the site, but within a mile, they tell you what has been spotted or seen within a mile of the site. The biologist went onto the property. That report's been filed with Fish and Game. Basically, there are a couple of snakes that he commented would potentially be going through the property still, and that the recommendations he had was that we minimize sumps in the drainage structure where we can, and not use any type of erosion control measure that would have a plastic netting, that would hinder wildlife or potentially, they get caught on or what have you. So we'll be implementing those as well.
Okay. And do you know when you'll be breaking ground?
Assuming we get approvals and we can make the pricing and everything work, would be next spring, summer would be the idea.
Okay. I'm just thinking of like nesting season, wanting to avoid the nesting season with the birds and stuff.
Yep. And sometimes we get into watching the timing of tree clearing as far as that certain wildlife.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can tell you the only thing historical on this site that I recall is when I was a much younger person, we used that as a baseball diamond for Little League, or actually it was younger than Little League, what we call T-ball now. So way back when. Of course, there was no trees then, so.
Anyone
Okay,
else?
just for clarification, because I'm going to draft the letter for the planning board. So I've got the straw, I've got the fertilizer. How do we want to leave it with nesting season? Do we want to, I mean, can we ask that you start clearing before March, or that's not going to happen? I know we had another rather large place that was clearing for solar panels, and they actually did wait until October to clear because there were just so many trees and we were very concerned with nesting. So what can we do about that?
I wouldn't want to commit to March. The applicant, I don't know, is in that position yet. But I guess, if you just state that we, follow protocol outlined by Fish and Game, that's what we're going to have to do anyways.
Okay, and Tim and Gage, how do you want to leave it about fluids, catch basins for fluids?
Well, there's no indoor drain, so we don't have an issue with that. Since they're going to have fluids in the building, they're going to have a spill kit and training available for their employees to manage how to deal with spills. I think that's pretty much baked into our subdivision rules, if I understand correctly. So, or somewhere. So I don't think there's a large danger there, because they're not actually going to be. It's not like a quick lube place or something like that. They'll have even more fluids going on and doing it all the time. So I think the only other comment that I'd like to make sure of is that there is some sort of oil separation system built into the drainage system in order to capture any sort of vehicle fluids that might hit the pavement and make it into the stormwater treatment system. So,
okay.
And I didn't get a chance to go through all the structures and the plans and stuff like that. So I would imagine the engineering review would be looking for that, but we can always highlight it.
Yeah, we'll identify the structures, and again, either put a oil separator tee or a hood in the structures right before it enters into the system.
Yeah.
Okay, I have all those notes. Gina, you and I can review together, and we'll get a recommendation crafted for the planning board. There are no other questions.
Just, is it possible to get a copy of that, the National Heritage Bureau, what you received from them?
Yeah, I can send you a copy of the report.
Okay.
Fabulous. Okay, well, thank you for coming tonight or joining us tonight. We'll get that communication sent over to the planning board.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck with your business.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, the final item of advisory business is As Life Goes On, LLC is the applicant, and Phyllis and Laura Benson are the owners. The review is for recommendation to the planning board of a site plan to convert an existing building, currently vacant, most recently a former personal services use, to a 24-bed assisted living facility. The parcel is located at 585 Daniel Webster Highway in the C1 limited commercial and R4 residential aquifer conservation, and elderly housing overlay districts. Tax map is 60-1, lot 046. And it looks like we have Nathan on. Nathan, you want to introduce yourself and review that with us?
Sure. Nathan Chamberlain with Fieldstone. As you mentioned, we are here to get a recommendation to the planning board for the conversion of this building. This was once the Levi Lowe's restaurant. I don't know if you recall that, but the restaurant was in the, I guess, the part on the north side. And then the residential structure, I'm not sure what it was used for during the restaurant. Maybe they had some apartments in there or whatnot. But, when it was a restaurant, it was valet parking. People would pull in that loop drive, and then the people would take and park the cars in the back along Pleasant Street. I think they went through, they got it approved originally, and then they got it then they increased the seating in the early 80s. But I think they had parking for like 100 cars back there, but because the valet parking, they go bumper to bumper. But anyway, so so existing parcel, existing house, and then a barn that's been converted, it looks like, carriage house. It's approximately 1.3 acres. It's on Daniel Webster Highway and the corner of Daniel Webster Highway and Maple Street. And then it's also abuts Pleasant Street in the back. So the building sits on high ground, and everything sheds away from it towards the three streets, basically. So I don't know, it looks like they were able to get the restaurant approved without any kind of drainage, even though that whole back area along Pleasant Street was gravel. But anyway, so we are proposing a small little infiltration basin. It is Windsor soils, which are great for infiltrating, and that's proposed in the back. And then all the existing utilities is just existing. They are converting. It's a porte cochere or breezeway. It's called some places. It's really a drive-through garage, so it's open on both ends, and you can drive through and get to the back side of the building. So they're going to close that in. I think they're going to put an elevator tower in there and stuff. And yeah, I can imagine they're going to utilize the kitchen that's already there. But as far as site improvements, we're going to add a parking lot. And so we're not going to put a parking area in the back where it was for the restaurant. We're proposing to put it along Maple Street, a 20 space parking area. There is a couple of driveways there now that will be removed. And then we'll cut that down. I think there's actually three curb cuts on the Maple. We'll cut that down to one. And then we'll have an access to the back for deliveries or service items or whatnot. And then a little dumpster in the back as well. There's no windmill structure there. I don't know what's going on with that. I guess that's getting taken down. And, we're trying to keep most of the landscaping that's there. And we do have some additional landscaping proposed. Yes, there is one catch basin proposed, so to capture the runoff from going across the driveway. We could certainly add a separator hood onto that if that's a concern. Then it flows to the back there, like I mentioned, and just a small infiltration basin. Everything else sheds basically to where it's currently going. So it's shedding to Daniel Webster Highway. There's no change in the impervious going in that direction. Everything is being routed. Any new impervious is going back to where that infiltration basin is proposed. All the other utilities are existing. So there's really no other construction other than the parking area, some sidewalks, and the conversion of the porte cochere to the enclose that. And again, as I mentioned, that was once a large gravel parking area for the restaurant. So I guess it's basically grown in, so it's kind of grassed over at this point. Anyway, I guess that's it. In a nutshell, I can answer any questions you may have. We do have, if we back up, we do have the Snow Pro specified. We do have low phosphorus fertilizer specified. I believe the species are native. At any rate.
When do you go before the planning board?
Yeah, we have not been before the planning board. That's upcoming, I believe, at their next meeting. And we did get a variance. I guess this use was not permitted. it needs to be 3 acres, so they got a variance to allow it to go onto the 1.3 acres. So,
Looks pretty straightforward. Who would have, does anyone have questions? Comments?
that's simpler.
Yeah, no, I do like the idea of the parking lot along Maple Street, pretty much opposite an existing commercial retail building, and therefore the neighbors aren't necessarily disturbed. Lighting isn't an issue so much for them. So,
Right.
and it's relatively flat. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, it would be great to have an oil water separator there on that.
Sure,
system.
I can add that.
Yeah.
That's good. It's a good idea.
So
it's an easy thing to do.
Yeah. And yeah, everything else is pretty straightforward. So
thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we will we'll send a recommendation over to the planning board, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, that takes us through all the statutory advisory business. Moving on to new business. You've all seen it. Mike Swisher is no longer able to serve with us on this Conservation Commission. We're certainly appreciative of all the things he's done for us and with us. But with that, we need to, we should at this meeting nominate and elect a new chair. I'll put Ramon prepared to do that now. I kind of suspected this might be the case. I guess this is going to be an item we're going to have to table to our next meeting, which is December 7th. I think there's everyone on the Zoom right now could certainly be the vice chair and do a wonderful job. I don't have any planned attendance problems or anything, so you know, I don't know that we'd call on you to do that a lot. But if you think you're on the fence and you think that you'd like to know more information, you have my phone number. Please reach out to me, and I'd like to coax someone into being interested in that.
Steve, we lost your audio.
So much for there being no technical snags tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if we had a vice chair, we could just continue the meeting, couldn't we?
What else have we got now?
Oh, there you are. Okay.
I don't know what happened. Can you?
Yeah.
Can
You're
I
back.
be heard now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
just
go ahead, Gina.
to tell everyone, this does not have to be a long-term commitment either. Essentially, if someone wants to step up now, we can vote for a new vice chair in June. And essentially, all you have to do is step in and run the meeting if Steve's not around. Because Steve and I kind of have a good working relationship now of getting the paperwork done. And so all you have to do is run the meetings. So did I sweeten the pot at all?
Well, I don't, certainly was never my intention to put someone on the spot tonight. But if you're lukewarm to the idea, please express your lukewarmness to me. Either shoot me an email or call me, and we'll see what we can put together. So it's probably premature, I guess, to put that on this agenda, but we technically should be voting on a vice chair, nominating and voting on a vice chair tonight.
So Steve?
Yes.
Just for your benefit and everyone else, if for some reason you're not able to run a meeting, I can certainly facilitate a meeting. I've done it hundreds of times, and I can certainly do it again. But I, as an alternate, cannot hold the office of vice chair, and would prefer not to. I'd rather have someone who's a full-time member have that spot. So, but if someone needs some help or finds themselves in a bad spot and never having run a meeting like this, certainly Gage and I have done it over and over again, and we can certainly help step in and guide, if assuming we're present. So, which usually happens.
I appreciate that. Okay, I'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the 2021 meeting dates. Essentially, we followed the same model that we've followed previous years. I think it totals 19, 2 meetings most months, 1 meeting in 3 months. Naturally, if there's a lack of agenda, which has happened from time to time in the past, we can always cancel a meeting that's already been scheduled. But I looked through these dates. I didn't see anything outrageous. We don't have a meeting scheduled on a holiday or anything else. Did anyone else see something wrong with the proposed or have recommendations for the 2021 meeting schedule?
No, I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's probably going to change to the virtual meetings for the first several months. I mean, I think we all know that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes.
To the new normal. But yes, if we have to call an audible, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, assuming if it does switch to virtual, we're going to have to check with Merrimack TV to make sure that there's no, scheduling conflicts, because the school board also runs on Mondays too.
So for right now, for the rest of this year, we're still virtual the rest of this year, correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And I think is it just one December 7th, or are there 2 meetings in December? Just one. Okay.
The one, I believe.
All right. So I guess it's the consensus of the commission that schedule looks good as of right now. We'll go ahead and let them know that. That's really it for new business. We had one item for old business. Tim, I believe you asked to have this put on the agenda. Do you want to go ahead and talk about the Greater Woods Bypass Trail?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we put some effort into looking at a bypass trail to go up and around the piece of South Grater Road that we decommissioned, shut off because it was so close to a beaver pond area. And we had Don go out, and Gage and I think a number of us actually participated in surveying and laying it out, and realized it was a fairly large project because it wasn't going to just go around the pond area, but it was going to be an improvement starting somewhere past the gate out by Amherst, and then creating a gradual slope up and over and back down again. The importance of this part is of what's there is that this bypass area really services as a fire protection road as well as emergency access road for that part of the property. Yes, you can get to the property from Wilson Hill Road and you can get pretty well in. And yes, you can come in from Amherst and get pretty well in, but having that full length available, I think, is important. It certainly provides, if we do it correctly, some better areas for people who are a little less skilled at hiking through some of our trails, if we open it up a little bit. So we kind of put it on hold because we thought maybe we could get ARM funds to support this, and that didn't seem to pan out. But I think we leave ourselves liable for an issue or a problem, an emergency situation, if we don't continue to move forward with this, even to the point of potentially funding the entire project ourselves. So I kind of wanted to bring that forward and see if there was someone who wanted to champion the idea of maybe chasing some fish and game grant money or a different avenue, or either way to kind of make the determination that we are going to move forward and do this, and therefore take the risk of an issue happening out there and narrowing it, reducing that risk. So I don't know if we actually got to a number with Don as to what it would take, but I thought it was somewhere north of $50,000. Gage, any thoughts?
I do believe she sent out, or she had a pretty well made plan, kind of finalized. I don't think it's not a final plan, but I think she had a good road laid out, and the plan pretty well set. And I don't remember. I don't know if there was any costs associated with that or not. But yeah, I do agree with you. I understand what you're saying about the fact that you can walk down the Gateway Trail and all that and be, pretty unskilled at hiking. But then the minute you try to get across that last little group, that you're really up into the woods. So that would be a difficult path to take. But yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. That's probably something we should be following up on and continuing with.
Yeah, I almost wondered if it's something we might want to combine with a forestry project in that part of property. I seem to recall when we had a forest study done by Dan's protege there. He was kind of recommending some forestry work on that parcel, or the parcel coming in off of Amherst. That might be a way to generate a little bit of revenue to offset this, as well as it might be an opportunity, since we'll have vehicles in there, that maybe we can get some forestry done as well as the clearing done for the roadway. So there might be some economy to it. But I think if we let this linger, we're not going to get there. And I honestly believe it's kind of a liability. What set it off in my mind is watching Steve present to the town council, which, by the way, you did an excellent job representing us. You really did. But you brought up Fund 51, and Fund 51 was actually a bit higher than I thought it was. I guess we've had some contributions from land coming out of some of the change use monies or something like that. But I honestly believe that we can still attain some of the purchase things that we want to do to complete some of the holes that we have in our green space areas, as well as do this project and still have a healthy balance. So I'd like to see us make it happen. So
I found the pre-proposal form. Do you want the numbers?
Sure.
Okay, so total amount requested was $55,700, and the amount of matching funds would have been $40,900. So the total would have been $96,600.
Mm-hmm. Matching funds from where?
Us.
Well, yeah, we were looking for ARM funds for that request. So
okay, so the total is 90 something thousand?
The total project cost would be $96,600, and we were looking for an ARM grant for $55,700, and we would have put in $40,900.
Got it. Thank you.
So it's getting close to tax time. It's right around the corner. Maybe a local corporation like Budweiser, or I know St. Gobain is looking to do some PR. Maybe they'd be interested in making a donation, which would offset their taxes. Just a thought.
It's a good thought, Mike, but what it requires is someone who has the time to go after it, right? Just like some of the other grants that we're talking about. And if for lack of having someone available to make that happen, I still feel that there's a liability out there that we need to address. So now I'm only one member. The rest of you can decide that you'd like to give it some time and see if we can find a grant person to chase some grants. But I'd hate to miss another season coming up where we could get it done.
Well, just so everyone remembers too, we did walk that parcel with GZA, and they're the ones that, when we thought that we were doing such a great job and that grant money would be there, the ARM grant would be there because we were bypassing the beaver pond, they said no. that wasn't what the ARM money wasn't going to be a good project for it. So but if we take donations, I believe there's an issue with the fact that we don't have we have to have a capital reserve fund or somewhere for that money to go and sit. So we'd have to get with community development somewhere, because they'd have to have somewhere to have an account that was dedicated to that project. So people can, like the Horse Hill Fund. There's a specified fund that people can give money to Horse Hill. We'd have to have that same thing set up for this type of project. So, well, Mike, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to try to get donations. We have to get some financial direction first before we did anything. But
is that town-owned land or is that Conservation Commission-owned land?
that is, I believe that's our property. We purchased that, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it may cross.
I think it crosses
parcels.
Yeah,
You have to look at it.
part of it crosses into Amherst on the back, on that bottom side, doesn't it? I need to get the maps.
You talking what, the forest opportunity or just the road
Yes, the
Right.
forest opportunity.
Yeah,
'Cause
the forest opportunity probably comes up, it certainly comes up close to the Amherst. It abuts the Amherst property there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So
forest,
if, go ahead, Mike.
doing a forest project in that area, that would certainly impact the trails that are in that area, I would think.
Yes.
Yep.
So would it be better to get that project done during the winter or, when the ground is hard and it's not flooded?
Well, the work we want to do is not going to be impacted by stormwater, except for some of the culverts that we need to put in the existing road as it comes in from Amherst property. So,
Okay. I'm just wondering if we were to make a motion tonight to at least approve part of the funds so that we could at least get the cutting done before, because we're going to have to cut a significant amount of trees to blaze that trail, aren't we?
yes.
To get that trail in. So wouldn't it make more sense to get those trees cut in the winter before nesting season started?
What's the date on that document you read off, Gina?
There is no date, but I remember doing this about 2 years ago. Oh, wait a minute. No, there is. January 17th, 2018.
Yeah, so nearly 3 years ago now.
Well, I was just thinking, if we approved 50,000 right now to at least get the trees out, I mean, is there timber that we could sell from cutting that? Maybe make up some of it? I'm just thinking, get the trees down now before nesting season starts, and then we can, what?
That's typically what we do with the timber cuts is we will have them, they self-fund, and anything extra that they generate is what goes into the coffer.
All right, so can we vote to start the cutting now and get that out of the way?
My concern is if we jump into that without like us going there and actually people seeing what's, where this road is going to go. You're talking about cutting the road, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody should be aware of what's being cut and where the road is going to be going to before we vote on it, I think.
Do you need to talk to the subcommittee before we start this?
It would be polite, yes, but it would be more of an FYI.
Yeah. So we should be tabling this until December then?
As long as everyone agrees to go out and walk it before then.
I will walk it.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest if we're going to bring a group out there that we wait till deer hunting season, firearm season is over, just to let them finish that activity. That is a popular area. What's that?
That's a well-used area.
It is. It's got a lot a lot of hemlock groves that the
Yeah.
deer utilize. Yeah, I don't see it that important that we do it before that point. So
Is the road going in there, is that capable of managing the trucks or whatever have to get in there?
yeah, the idea would be emergency. You mean the existing road?
Right now, yeah. For say they had to take logs out or they have to get a truck in there.
They're going to have to make a landing zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do know that the trucks got pretty darn close when they did the other forestry work in the donut hole, and they came in off of Wilson Hill Road. Sorry. So we know that they can get pretty darn close from that direction, even if the Amherst entrance doesn't support it. So.
Yeah, that was a mess. I remember that. the mud. Yeah.
Yep.
So when we do timber work, do we put it out to bid for a couple of different companies, or do we have someone that we tend to work with?
We typically get our forester involved, and they would generate the cut plan, and they would put it out to bid. Because this is what they do. They're much more well-versed in the value of the timber and the correct procedures and current law. So that's something that we allow our forester to manage.
Yeah, they would monitor it. They would give us a rough idea of the timber value, so we would understand that, as well as help us get the costs to do the work, so we could understand both the revenue side as well as the expenditure side. But I think it's far better to put this project in with a real forestry project too, in order to get some economy of scale.
Yeah.
So
similar to how we did the Gateway Trail. That was a large forestry project with the concept of building the road right in the plan. So they were cutting and putting in road as they went. Because the nice thing that opens up the bidding and attracts a company that has the machinery to do both.
So does it make sense at this point, Gage, for you to let the subcommittee know that that this is on the table, and to contact the forestry company and also let them know that this is on the table, and
we can we can do that.
All right. Do we need to vote on that, or is that something that you can just do?
Well, we're not expending any funds or doing anything yet, and we don't have any kind of proposal. I don't think we need to vote on anything other than say, yeah, let's just go ahead and get some information, and then we can vote.
So would you do that for us?
Sure.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
You don't mind reaching out to Bay State?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is Bay State the forester?
Yes.
All right. Any other discussion on the bypass trail? All right. That brings us to other business.
Wait, Steve, just a second. Tim, did we had a Dawn leave that we nailed all those spikes in, and that's it, right? We did that as a center line of that road.
As far as I recall, that's as far as it went. Yeah.
All right.
I don't have Dawn's plans though, so.
I'm gonna look through and see what I have.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't find them in my stuff. So.
Okay, I'll look through and see what I have.
I don't remember her giving us a set. I mean, I remember her talking about it. She having them, but I don't remember ever getting a copy of it.
Yeah, it'd be good to get our hands on an electronic copy we could look at. So.
I can contact Dawn if you want.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, other business. I think everyone was copied on the response. I asked the question about re-engaging and doing subcommittee meetings, but we did not receive a green light to do that at this time. Does anyone have any other updates they wanted to share? Okay,
Yeah.
yep.
No, but Steve, it was a good point made that if there is a subcommittee that would like to have some of our time, or would like to have an opportunity to provide some input, we should let them all know that a group of the subcommittee is welcome to maybe have an agenda spot in our December meeting or something, and have that discussion. So
That's a great point. Thank you for that, Tim. Yeah, I've forgotten that part of the answer.
yeah, because we
So
did
we
that
would
with
just-
Wildcat Falls folks at our last meeting, I believe. So
well, if someone would like that, we just need to know in advance so we can add it to the agenda for the December 7th meeting. Presentation of the minutes.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the Merrimack Conservation Commission meeting minutes for October 19th, 2020 with changes as follows. Anybody want to go first, or you want me to go?
I'll second it.
Is this a trick question, Gina?
Wait a minute, let me just write down Tim seconding that. Gina. Tim. All right. I'm gonna just put on page 1, line 21, because we refer to Steve as the chair. So let's refer to Karen Labonte as the chair instead of the chairman. On page 3, line 40. Tom's last name is Martinson, Martinson. And actually, I had to go back into a way previous email to get the correct spelling of Mark Twardowski, because he spells it a little bit differently. So on line 43 of page 3, he is Twardoski. And that is also on line 46. So take the second W out of Twardowski on line 46. On page 4, line 3, take that second W out of Twardowski again. And on line 4, correct the spelling of Martinson, Martinson. On page 5, line 15, put a period at the end of town budget. On page 5, line 41, again, Karen Labonte, chair, not chairman. On page 6, line 21, it's West Chamberlain, Lain. On page 6, line 32, capitalize the S in scout. On page 7, line 13, again, take that second W out of Twardowski. And that's it.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll go via roll call vote to approve the motion. I'm a yes. Gina?
Yes.
Mike Waver?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Mike Druin?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0-0. There are still no public looking to make comments in the waiting room. So we have no public comments at this point. So commissioner comments. Gina?
Don Don McMillan had suggested that we add an agenda item from going forward, anything that we have tabled. So one of the items that was tabled at the 9/21 meeting was the discussion and vote to retreat the invasive knotweed that's taking hold again on the.
Gina, can you talk forward? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So the item was discussion to vote and retreat the invasive knotweed that's taking hold again on the property off of Brookside Drive. This will require a licensed applicator. So do we want to discuss this or do we want to table this again?
I think we have to table it because I did get hold of our formerly licensed applicator and he gave me a new name. And that person's not been able to get out yet to come look at this. So I will contact them again.
Okay, thank you.
Last time, wasn't the forester the one who?
Yes.
The applicator, and he's not with us anymore?
He's not with the Bay State any longer.
No.
Anything else, Gina?
Nope, all set.
Okay. Mike Claver?
No comment.
Okay.
Actually, I do have one thing, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
So we do have an opening for a member, which we could put somebody up into the full member. Unless, of course, no one steps up to be vice chair, then we would have to look out to find somebody who would get a crash course and be thrown into being a vice chair, which I don't think we want to do that either. So my question is, I think that, you know, we've been lucky, we've had a full table, but I think at this point now, there are things that need to be done. And I would love to be able to ask the application committee, who has two people, well, it's one person on the, one or two people on the town council, and Pete and Steve, that maybe we can start looking for certain talents. And I'm thinking that some of the things that we would need is, we need somebody that would be willing to write grants. Even though we are not actively pursuing property, we still have some properties that could be given to us that would need real estate paperwork handled. And it would be great to have someone who was comfortable with real estate. Be great to have someone who's comfortable being out clearing the trails. Be great to have someone who's comfortable building bridges. But there's a whole bunch of different talents that I think that we could use. So maybe we could all think about some of the things that would be nice to have, because we'll have Tim's spot opening up in June too. And maybe we could kind of give our wish list to the town council so that, you know, and maybe we could even put on the town website, we're looking for people that can do all of these things or something in here. So is that something that is reasonable, or do we just kind of, you know, just kind of go with people that are coming in like me, who kind of walked in with, you know, hi, I'm here, and didn't really know how to do anything. So, I mean, it took 5 years for me to get to this point that I'm, you know, comfortable doing things. And it was a lot of hard work on Tim Tenhave's part getting me to this point. So.
Your wish list it's a good one. You know, it's just a matter of what's available. You know, we never had a full commission until, I don't know, it was a year or two ago. And if things keep moving in this direction, and there's no harm in asking for those things.
So Gina, I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that you'd like us almost to put out a request, you know, like a job request, like a position, and then we're looking for these talents, and and these are the people we want to join the commission, not just that we want people supporting us. We want people to join the commission that have some of these skills.
No, well, supporting us too is good too. I mean, they don't necessarily have to be on the commission, but it would be great. And one of the things that I want to do too is to go back through the stay in touch forms, because I've been very lax on that and pulling together a list of volunteers. But it would be great to be able to say, you know, hey, you know, Do we have volunteers that are comfortable, working with grant writing? Do we have volunteers who are comfortable, working with real estate?
Okay. So it's not necessarily, we don't necessarily need someone to join the commission. We just want someone to volunteer time to support whatever we've got going on at this time.
Well, I mean, my feeling is that if we have 3 people that are looking to sign up for the commission, and we are looking for somebody that can write grants, then possibly we sit there and we say, okay, what is our need right now?
Okay.
Our need is grants. So that would be a good way to choose who. That would be helpful for the application committee to say, this is who we're going to choose.
Okay. So we have to have a wish list by next meeting.
Well, I mean, what do you all think would be great to have? What talents would you be looking for? And it's not something you have to tell me tonight, but I mean, at some point, maybe I'll send a memo out to you and you can respond to me.
It's hard to replace Matt Karen. I mean, he was, trail builder who was out there all the time.
Right.
And obviously we're going to miss that aspect.
Well, and when Tim leaves, Tim is a walking encyclopedia. I'm going to be calling Tim all the time.
Yeah, you can't leave, Tim. Sorry.
Sorry. We know where you live.
Yeah, and I'll still be connected to the town anyway, so it's not like I'm disappearing. So
no, we know.
But so Gina, I think you make a good point. I think we can suggest that the town council appoint someone who could help fill our needs. So I think it would be good for us to let the town council know what we believe some of our needs are. So if it's a 50-50 between 2 candidates and one's a great grant writer and wants to do it and the other wants to run away from it, maybe they can decide in the direction we want them to decide. But at the end of the day, the commission is their commission. They put us here.
Exactly.
So all we can do is suggest, but I see no harm in suggesting. So I think your list is very appropriate. If we had grant writers, we could better utilize some of our dollars and they could stretch a little bit further. So if we had some avid trail people who want to actually get in and get their hands dirty or can coordinate trail projects, that would be awesome. So, but at the end of the day, we have the candidates who apply, and then it's up to them to decide on one of them or none of them. And hopefully we can give them a criteria to help us. And I think they will. So.
Okay.
Anything else, Gina?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Cindy?
I don't have anything.
Gage?
All set.
Tim?
So a couple of things. So it is unfortunate that that Michael Swisher had to leave us, but I certainly can understand, from what he described his situation, and I certainly wish the best for him. And we all hope that our paths cross at some point, literally and figuratively alike. So, but he was working on a project to help complete the Tomasian land donation. And he had done some effort there, and he and I had talked and whatever. So in order to keep that moving, because it would be really great to get that done, there's a number of reasons to finish it up, both on the town side, because that needs to finish and the project needs to complete. So I think I will pick up the ball with your all permission, knowing that I am also a resident in the neighborhood that's impacted. But of course, nothing that I can do wouldn't be under your review anyways. You would all have to review the deed. You'd be all part of the approval process, the public hearing and everything else. So I think there's little danger of me sliding something in and doing something that you would not want to see. So I think I'll continue to move forward if you want me to, and hopefully sometime come January, we could be looking at least a deed and scheduling a public hearing to move this forward. So if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Yes,
yeah.
please.
So, And then the other thing is yes, everybody remember, it is deer hunting season. It's the most popular hunting season in this part of the state. And there will be folks out there with firearms. They're not out there to hurt you in any way. Wear your hunter orange so that you're obvious to them, and everyone can be safe while you're enjoying our properties at the same time.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. Mike Druin?
No.
Okay. I only had one thing. Tim, you had offered, and I assume you're still willing, but our next meeting on the 7th, that's really only 3 weeks away. So I'm hoping there might be a limited agenda for that. And if you're still willing, I'd love to have you give us a review at the end of that meeting on just the, some of these advisory items and the sorts of things to look for when proposed projects come before us. If you're comfortable with that, I'll make sure it gets on the agenda.
Yeah, it'd be better to look at projects we've already looked at, so that way they're somewhat familiar to everyone as well. So I can go back in time over the last few meetings and pull those projects together if you'd like.
Either that or we can do whatever way you think is better, that or I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
If there were one project that we were reviewing at that meeting or for the next meeting, you thought that was an ideal one to review. I just
Yep.
You always find these questions to ask that always seem so worthy of being asked after we hear them, but I never really think ahead of time to ask them myself.
Yep.
That was the only comment I had. Would anyone like to make a final motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
By roll call vote, Gina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Gage,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So that motion carries 7-0 to 0. Time is 7:49. Well, thank you all and have a wonderful evening.
Good
Bye
night.
now.
Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning, I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.